Okay, so how to create Cornell notes mainly for computing revision, but you could then take my idea and use it for other subjects as well. So Cornell is a university, and they developed this way of taking notes for students when they're in lectures, but it's been used as a revision technique for some time. So how does it work? Well, basically, you have to take a page and you have to split it up into 3 sections. I have some computer paper that I've got printed, but you can, and you'll see in my example later, you can just use ordinary lined paper. So I'm going to quickly run through these sections here, and then I'll show you a real version. So the first process is taking notes. Now, these notes for you guys can be from anything in your exercise book that you may have done. It could be a particular topic. What I would say is don't cram information into here. You'll see in a second. But it could be advantages, disadvantages, it could be definitions, it could be history, a series of events, it can be anything. Once you've done your notes, you're then going to pose possible questions based on this content. So what possible questions could a test or an exam board ask me from this information here? And then finally, at the end, you do a summary, and you do that at the end. Don't skip a section, otherwise it doesn't really work. So here's an example for computing. So my first section, I've taken a simple topic, inputs and outputs, given me a very small introduction, give me some information about what inputs are, give me a sort of a definition and then examples, and then taking outputs, what is it, and give me some examples. So that's your first section. Then, and this is the important bit, read through it and think, well, what questions could the exam board ask me, or a test, and line it up. So my question here refers to this information here. The definition is lined up. So I've not just shoved a load of questions in. I've actually lined up the definition with this section here, and so on. Okay? So number 1, notes. Number 2, think about the questions I could be asked from this section. This takes a bit of time, and what I would say is don't rush it. It could take a couple of sessions to produce Cornell notes. That's the whole point, that you keep coming back to this at a period of time. Finally, once you're completely happy with this and you can answer those questions, summarize. Now, for input and output, the best summary is a diagram for me, for computing, and for any computing student, I would say a diagram of this process. So you could put a diagram in your summary, but basically the summary is a bit like a tweet. If you had to condense this information here into a bite-sized chunk, not giving examples, not with huge amounts of detail, just the concise tweet, then that's essentially stage 3. And you can only do this once you know in depth this section here. So Cornell note taking, and you can see from my example there, I've just used lined paper and just sectioned it up. So it can be done just ordinary lined paper. Think about your coloured pens. So down here, this is black writing, this is blue. Storage is not covered in this sheet, but the note to myself is, okay, I've got to do storage next. That needs some thought and some notes created for it. So that's Cornell note taking.